you might rip your jeans, right? So what am I gonna do? They had to be thick, they had to be heavy, they had to be durable. So everything they had was very durable. Who here gets sunburned? So you're riding your horse from sun up to sundown and you get sunburnt the day before, and then you gotta turn around and do it again. That ain't gonna be much fun, is it, right? I bet you, for everybody who gets sunburned, if you wear a long sleeve shirt, you will not get sunburnt near as bad. So that's why they wore long sleeve shirts. It helped keep the sun off them and they wouldn't get sunburnt. Not to mention it made a great way to absorb the sweat, help keep you cooler. All right? Now, anybody ride horses? I didn't see any hands, did I? You do? How easy is it to get your cell phone out of your pocket while you're riding? Pretty difficult, isn't it? That's why they made these nifty things back then called a vest. As you can tell, I got my pocket watch. I can put a biscuit in there if I need to. I can carry a knife, whatever. Not to mention it'd be very hard to get something out of your pants pocket. But back then they didn't even have pockets in their breeches. So that's why they had the vest to carry stuff. Now everybody, I see you have a belt on. Everybody else knows what a belt is, right? They all have belt loops in their breeches and everything now. Yeah, back then they didn't. They had these beautiful things called suspenders or braces. That's what held their breeches up. All right, as you can see, I got straps on that help protect my breeches so I wouldn't get them torn or anything like that riding through the mesquite trees. Or here in a little bit, Jose will show you how to rope. When you rope, you can burn through your breeches, and then you got no breeches with holes in them, and that's no good. So we talked about the vest, talked about the boots. Now we got one really cool tool. Everybody knows what this is, right? What's it called? Anybody? Bandana. It's also known as a wild rag. All right. The wild rag was a very handy tool for the drovers. It had multiple purposes. Somebody shout out one thing that you could use it for. Dust. Perfect. I can put it up over my face like this, and I can be a bank robber. Where's your money? Another thing is too, is if I was riding drag, I'm behind 3,000 of them big guys back there. They're gonna kick up a lot of dust and dirt and nasty smells, right? So it helps keep that down. Now let's say I gotta blow my nose. I can blow my nose, put my face, put them boogers in my mustache so I have a snack for later. Okay, there's another use. Now let's say Miss Maybell here bucks me off. I hurt my arm. Well, I'm just gonna go ahead and do this. Now I got myself a little sling. All right, now let's say I was riding and I got cut on a mesquite tree. I can take it off, use it as a tourniquet. It had multiple uses, multiple purposes. All right, now we're gonna go to the most iconic thing. Everybody knows what this is, right? Cowboy hat. Made out of beaver. Where do beavers live? Water, right? So it sheds the water, keeps the sun off me, not to mention it also holds water. So let's say we're riding for a while, and Miss Maybell here is getting thirsty. I can put water in it. Want a drink? She takes her drink. There's still some water in there. Oh, I'm kind of hot, so I'll just dump it on my head and cool me off. Not only that, but I can also signal to Jose. I can wave it and signal to him, telling him, hey, I need you to slow down. I need some speed up. Makes a great fan, too, if you get hot, you know, ooh la la. Everything they had and wore had a multiple purpose and multiple uses for it because that's all they had to survive. Now, Jose here, he mentioned he's a third generation vaquero. He is very, very handy with the rope, and the importance of the rope is branding. Everybody knows what branding is, right? The only way that the drovers would be able to keep track of their cattle. It was the only way of showing ownership back then. So I'm gonna pass it back over to Jose, and he's gonna show off. Now, the louder you guys get, the faster he'll go. You'll understand here in a minute, so I'm gonna pass it back over to Jose. Thank y'all.
All right, hello again. Now, I'm going to talk to you about another tool that probably was as important as the whip, which is called the rope. Everyone here knows what the ropes are, right? So the rope is obviously the tool that we use to be able to get these longhorns branded like Dylan just got done talking about, right? Everyone knows what a brand is too, right? There's a board right here that shows you some type of, a couple of brands that they would have used back then, right? Obviously, the brand is a form of identification on a longhorn, right? They're not birthmarks. They're not born with them, right? So and obviously, they're not going to just let us walk up to them and put a brand on them and be like, yeah, just put it right there. It's okay. They're not going to let us, right? You have to have a tool to be able to use to get control of them, right? The brand is like a tattoo. Anybody here has tattoos? Anybody got tattoos? No? You want another one? It don't take that long. So, okay, the brand, a form of identification, right? The tool that we use to be able to get those longhorns to stand still is the rope, right? There was two types of ropes back then. One's a riata and one's a grass rope. A riata, which was used by the vaqueros, is a rawhide braided along rope that was usually about 30, 40, 50 feet long. Now, the reason why they were that long, again, remember, it's rawhide. Now, the reason why they were that long is in case when they had to rope one of these longhorns, they wouldn't dally off right away and stop that longhorn right away. They actually had to feed their coils, feed some slack to get those longhorns once they got settled down, right? So, again, like fishing. Who here has gone fishing? Everyone's gone fishing, right? Let's say if you got a really big fish at the end of your line. Are you going to risk, putting tension on that line and bringing in that fish as fast as you can? Risking breaking the line? Or are you going to let the fish get tired, where it's just much more easier to bring in? Right? It makes sense. That rope that's made out of rawhide can snap, especially with those big guys at the end of it, right? So they would actually rope off and dally off and feed that slack, get the animal tired, and then bring them in, whatever they needed to do with them, brand them, doctor them, whatever they needed to do, right? That took a lot of time, though. The drovers did not have that time. They started using ropes, grass ropes, which is grass-type materials that were braided tightly together. They were usually about 20, 30-foot long ropes. Now, you could be able to rope a longhorn around its horns, dally off 3 or 4 or 5 times around that horn, stop them in the tracks, but you still need somebody to come and rope those heels, which the event team roping came around, which was started in actual ranch work back in the day. So, somebody roped the horns, somebody roped the heels, they take down the longhorn nice and easy. It's safe for your horse, it's safe for myself, it's safe for you're taking care of the animal he doesn't have use of his legs anymore, so he's not gonna run around you, maybe run into the fire, start a prairie fire or anything like that, right? Or hurt the brandy that's on the ground. To give you a better, let me ask you this, to give you a better understanding of the rope, who here has been tied up before? But no, stop, no more like that, all right? So, the rope is what we use to be able to get control of these longhorns and get a brand on them, right? And well, since I'm the vaquero, I want to show off a little bit how talented those, the vaqueros back then, how good they were with those ropes, right? So, all this is what I'm going to show you right now, all started in the big haciendas in Mexico. They had big competitions that were, big fiestas where they would show off their best hands, their best produce. It was kind of like a state fair. You show off your best produce, you show off your best livestock, your inventions, your best cowboys, and they would have a competition, right? So everybody here is used to seeing the regular roping, right? You twirl your rope and you throw to catch whatever animal you're going to catch, right? So those vaqueros, they spent a lot of time on horseback. They spent a lot of time with that rope. They get bored, so they start inventing different methods of roping. So basically, it just started off with one guy saying, hey, look, I can rope better than you. And like I said, they do this, make a twirl here, twirl there. And then another guy came along and said, hold my beer.
Remember, the louder you get, the faster he'll go.
And then, again, make it small, make it big, get it around my horse, make it small again to be able to calculate how much rope I need to be able to make it big or small, right? Get it around my horse just a little bit. I'm going to get it around him. Make sure I don't catch myself. And then, once I get it down here, I would ask one of the drovers to bring that longhorn around, which is Pancho right here. Bring it around. Get ready to catch him. So, thank you. So all that there, a lot of time, a lot of patience, a lot of practice. The vaqueros, it was a lifestyle. This is what they had to do every day. They made it into a tradition, a lifestyle. The drovers came along later on and made it official. They made it into a business because they needed to get stuff done to be able to get all these longhorns branded. Horses worked everything before they got up to Kansas. So there was a process of going up there, branding, riding horses, breaking horses, getting horses, longhorns ready to get sold up in Kansas. So all that time that I'm doing this, she's probably back there thinking, when's she gonna catch it? You know, so that took time and patience, right? They made it into a business, efficient, fast, so they could be able to make their money. Which now, if you ever gone to a rodeo, have you ever noticed the fastest is the winner? So that's where a lot of that came along from doing a lot of ranch work back then in those during the cattle drive era. All right, thank you. We're gonna go ahead and continue.
So, talking about brands and roping and all that, we're gonna teach everybody how to rope over here in just a little bit. But also too, for branding, we here ride for the Fort Worth herd brand or the running FW. And as you can see here, we got the F here, and it's backwards. There's a little thing right there that makes this an F. That is to honor the heritage and history that helped build this city. Okay, now the W here is stretched out, and that is for us to represent a long and prosperous future. So that's what the brand we ride for, and then we're really honored to ride for that brand. And as I mentioned, all these guys are donated. We also accept donations over here. There's a QR code. Any donations you guys make to us goes back into the animals. It goes to their feet, their hair, their nails, anything that they need, their food. It's to take care of them. Not us, any of us. It's all for these guys. So we really appreciate it if you do make any little donation. We really do appreciate that. And now for Billy's favorite part of this. Anybody got any questions? Fire away. What you got, bud?
Don't be scared.
Yeah, don't be scared. We don't bite that hard. Anybody else? Any questions? All right, I got a question for you guys. Do females have longhorns too? Okay, I got yes. Anybody disagree with that? Yes, they do. Well, you say no?
Well, no, I'm not disagreeing.
You're disagreeing. You're gonna argue.
No.
Yes, all of them have the horns. And why do they have the horns? Well, it all started off as a defense mechanism, and there were different breeds of cattle came across, and then basically longhorns are kind of technically mutts of cattle. Like there were different breeds that made them into what they are now.
No questions at all. Nobody at all.
What you got, ma'am?
Why Kansas actually? So why?
She asked, why did they go to Kansas? Well, at the beginning I said that these longhorn are very immune to diseases. They're very hardy animals. They don't need a lot to survive, not to mention not a lot gets them sick or anything. There was a tick that would get on the longhorns, and then it would get on other cattle. It would kill the other cattle. So certain parts of the country would not allow these longhorns to come through. Not to mention also in Abilene, Kansas, that was the nearest railhead that they had a safe passage through to get these longhorns up there. All right, I got a question for you. What ended the cattle drive? Anybody got? There's two things that ended the cattle drive. Train finally got down here. Yep. What did you say? Railroad. Okay. Not gonna get into that. Another thing, an invention called barbed wire. Everybody knows what barbed wire is, right? That was invented, and then all of a sudden, people started fencing off sections of land, saying this is my land, stay off of it, and the open range, free grazing ended. Everybody seen the movie Open Range? That's a really good movie. Yeah, that's kind of what ended the cattle drive era too. I got a question for you, especially for you. Can you swim? Most of the drovers back then didn't know how to swim. The young boys didn't know how to swim. So what do you think, other than stampede, what would be very dangerous for the drovers? Flooding? How about just crossing a river? Don't even have to be flooding. They didn't know how to swim. And these cattle and these horses know how to swim. They're natural swimmers. That's how they would survive. They would go in there, get drinks too, cool off. But they're natural swimmers. Humans are not natural swimmers. So how do you get across the river then if you're a young boy? You hold on to this horn in your saddle and you pray that you do not come off. If you did come off, you better hope that you have a vaquero on there, because he might be able to throw that 60-foot rope out there, get you caught and drag you in. That was kind of where water skiing got invented. Oh, I'm just kidding on that.
Nobody else? Any other questions? All right. So I don't know if anybody's wondering or not, but I know if you probably were wondering, looking at that map right there, you see that there's two sections that kind of split. So don't worry about it. There was not two trails. That was the exit to the Buc-ee's, the first Buc-ee's back then. But we want to thank y'all. If nobody else has any questions, we thank y'all for joining us today. And like I said, we're very appreciative of any donations that we receive from you to help us with our program. And now, if anybody has any other questions or too shy to ask, you could ask us. And now you could be able to go and learn how to rope with our professional ropers over there on that side.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Thank y'all.